At a private dinner in San Francisco, with only a handful of journalists present, Sam Altman dropped a bombshell. The CEO of OpenAI in the next 3 years might not be human. And I have to be honest, the first time I heard this, I thought he was joking. But after digging deeper, I realized this wasn't a joke, but a detailed blueprint for a future few dare to imagine. Today we're going to break down every piece of this wild plan. GPT-5, failure or strategy? Before talking about an AI CEO, let's look at what OpenAI is doing with its current product. GPT-5 launched this year, but, to be honest, it felt like a dish missing salt. I remember the first time I tested GPT-5. It felt like talking to a robot instead of an AI assistant. Responses were short, dry, lacking the warmth we were used to with GPT-4o. Users complained GPT-5 felt cold, more robotic than GPT-4o. Social media flooded with complaints, Reddit threads with thousands of upvotes about GPT-5 feeling dumber than its predecessor. Some people even called it a downgrade. And here's the twist. Instead of panicking, OpenAI saw this as an opportunity. They allowed personality customization. You want a friendly AI? Sure. You want it direct and ruthless like a German engineer? You got it. Even Nick Turley, OpenAI's product head, openly admitted, GPT-5 felt too blunt. I like that direct style. I'm German, whatever. But most users didn't. So they added small touches like good question or great start to make it feel less cold. But wait, is this really a weakness? In my view, it's not a bug. It's a feature. OpenAI is testing market reactions to understand what users want from AI. Think about it. If you're building an AI system that could eventually run a company, you need to know, do humans prefer emotional AI or logical AI? And the results are surprising. While consumers complain about personality, enterprises love the cold nature. Why? Because business needs precision, not emotion. Box CEO Aaron Levy called GPT-5 a breakthrough, saying it handles dense, logic-heavy documents better than anything before. JetBrains switched their AI assistant to GPT-5. Startups like Cursor and Vercel made it their default engine without hesitation. When I spoke with a founder using GPT-5 for code review, he said, "I don't need it to say please and thank you. I need it to find bugs and optimize performance." And here's the key insight. OpenAI is deliberately segmenting the market. Consumer ChatGPT can be warm and friendly. Enterprise GPT-5 can be cold and efficient. Different products for different needs. It's not a mistake, it's market positioning. Numbers don't lie. API traffic doubled within 2 days after GPT-5's launch. ChatGPT hit record daily users. They literally ran out of GPUs. Imagine that. A company valued at $157 billion running out of computing power. Enterprises like Cursor and Vercel are switching to GPT-5 with zero hesitation. Benchmarks from Cododo show GPT-5 outperformed Google's Gemini 2.5, Claude Sonnet 4, and Grok 4 in detecting security flaws and cleaning up code. But here's the kicker. Price. GPT-5 reportedly costs 7.5 times cheaper than Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.1. For companies running thousands of daily queries, that's the difference between profit and bankruptcy. One startup founder told me, "We were spending $15,000 monthly on Claude. With GPT-5, it's down to $2,000. That's $156,000 saved annually. You think I care if it sounds robotic?" And here's the most interesting part. OpenAI deliberately made the rollout messy. They introduced multiple modes: fast for quick replies, thinking for deeper analysis, auto to switch between them. One day, the auto switcher broke and users thought GPT-5 had suddenly gone brain dead. But this chaos serves a purpose. It's massive scale data collection. Every complaint, every preference, every usage pattern. They're learning how humans interact with different AI personalities. The backlash was so loud that OpenAI restored GPT-4o under legacy models for paying customers. But here's what most people missed. They only did this for consumers, not enterprises. Businesses didn't get the option to go back. Why? Because enterprises weren't complaining. They were scaling up usage. So is GPT-5 a failure? Absolutely not. It's a strategic test run for something much bigger. If you're planning to build an AI CEO, you need to know, do humans want their AI leaders to be warm and empathetic or cold and logical? The answer apparently depends on the context: personal assistant, warm business decision maker, cold and calculating. This isn't just about chatbots anymore. This is about understanding human psychology at scale, preparing for a future where AI doesn't just assist us, it leads us. And that's exactly what makes Sam Altman's comment about an AI CEO not sound crazy anymore, but inevitable. The economics behind it: $8 billion burned per year. And here's the shocking number: OpenAI is burning $8 billion every year. To give you perspective, that's twice the defense budget of Vietnam. Sounds insane. But look at the strategy behind it. I remember back in 2003, when Amazon was still losing billions every year, Wall Street kept asking Jeff Bezos when the company would be profitable. He answered, "Profit is a luxury when you're building an empire." And today Amazon is worth $1.2 trillion. OpenAI is applying the exact same playbook. GPT-5 is up to 7.5 times cheaper than Anthropic's Claude Opus. This is a classic tactic: undercut the competition on price to dominate the market. Amazon did it with books and retail. Uber did it with taxis. But the difference here is scale. No startup has ever burned $8 billion a year like this. And here's the interesting part. Sam Altman admitted that if you exclude model training costs, OpenAI is already a massively profitable company. Inference services, running models that are already trained, are making money. The problem is that training new models like GPT-6 or GPT-7 is insanely expensive. Let's break it down. Every time OpenAI trains a new model, they need tens of thousands of high-end GPUs running non-stop for months. A single NVIDIA H100 GPU costs about $40,000. Multiply that by the number they need, plus electricity, plus infrastructure, plus engineering salaries. The $8 billion figure starts to make sense. But this is a calculated risk. OpenAI is betting that if they can lock in enterprises right now with cheap pricing, when they raise prices later, the switching costs will be too high. Once you integrate GPT-5 into your entire workflow, data pipeline, and business process, switching to a competitor won't just cost money. It'll take months to retrain your staff. I spoke with a CTO of a unicorn startup. He said, "We're saving $200,000 a month by switching to GPT-5. Even if OpenAI triples the price, we're still cheaper than before." That's exactly the outcome OpenAI wants. The big question is, will $8 billion be enough to survive until this plan works? By my calculation, at the current burn rate, OpenAI can sustain about 2.5 more years with its existing funding. That's why they're frantically searching for a new funding round. And here's the plot twist. Altman has hinted at developing entirely new financial instruments, not just relying on traditional venture capital or massive funding rounds. Think of it as rewriting the entire playbook for financing a tech company, because existing structures can't handle this scale. But there's one risk few are talking about: competitive response. Google can burn more money than OpenAI. Microsoft can subsidize Azure OpenAI services. Meta can go open source and kill the entire paid model market. If one of these giants decides to go big, OpenAI's $8 billion might look like pocket change. I think OpenAI is aware of this. That's why they're not just burning cash on model training, but also on ecosystem building, API platforms, developer tools, enterprise partnerships. They're building a moat around the business model. And here's the most important insight: $8 billion isn't a cost. It's an investment in a future monopoly. If OpenAI can become the default AI infrastructure for the majority of enterprises, they'll have enormous pricing power. Imagine if GPT becomes the Google of AI. You can charge premium prices because switching costs are too high. But here's my concern. AI development cycles are getting faster. GPT-5 could become obsolete in 2 years when GPT-6 arrives. Unlike traditional infrastructure investments like railways or power grids that last decades, AI infrastructure depreciates extremely fast. So is the strategy of burning cash to build a moat sustainable long-term? My answer is, it depends on execution. If OpenAI can successfully transition from a model company to a platform company, this $8 billion could be the best investment ever. But if they fail to build a sticky ecosystem and only compete on model quality, this could become an expensive lesson in venture capital excess. A $3 trillion vision. Madness or genius? And then Altman dropped the number that shocked all of Silicon Valley: $3 trillion invested into data centers. To compare, that's the GDP of the entire United Kingdom, or equal to the total market cap of the Japanese stock exchange. When I first heard that figure, my initial reaction was, is this guy insane? But then I sat down and did the math. $3 trillion in investment, $4 trillion in service revenue, an ROI of 33%. Sounds reasonable, but what's the timeline? 10 years? 20 years? And more importantly, can this infrastructure maintain its value over that time? Let's look at the reality of building data centers at this scale. A modern AI training data center needs about 500 to 1,000 megawatts of electricity. For comparison, that's enough to power the entire city of Hanoi. With $3 trillion, OpenAI could build around 3,000 such data centers. Basically, an infrastructure network larger than Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure combined. But here's my first concern. AI infrastructure is completely different from traditional infrastructure. Railways or power grids can last 50 to 100 years. But AI chips? They're obsolete in 2 to 3 years. Today's NVIDIA H100 GPUs will be scrap metal when H200s or H300s arrive. So is this $3 trillion just throwing money into a black hole? Altman is aware of this. He said they need to develop entirely new financial instruments to fund this scale. Traditional venture capital or corporate bonds can't handle it. Think of it as inventing a new kind of currency for the AI economy. And here's what's fascinating. If successful, OpenAI won't just be a tech company, it'll be a financial institution. But the biggest challenge isn't money, it's physics. 3,000 data centers would need 300,000 megawatts of electricity. That's 1/4 of America's total power consumption. Right now, the entire crypto mining industry consumes only about 150,000 megawatts. So where will OpenAI get the power? Nuclear, solar farms, fusion reactors. Not to mention the supporting infrastructure. 3,000 data centers would require millions of miles of fiber optic cables, enormous cooling systems, and an army of technicians to maintain. We're talking about building basically a new civilization dedicated to AI. And here's a geopolitical reality check. Most advanced chips come from TSMC in Taiwan. If there's conflict in the Taiwan Strait, this entire plan collapses overnight. Does OpenAI have a backup plan? Partnerships with Intel, Samsung, or other foundries? Or are they betting their entire future on a single point of failure? But here's the interesting part. Altman isn't standing alone. He's already had conversations with governments, utility companies, and infrastructure investors. The UAE has committed part of the funding. Japan is considering partnerships. Even the US government is looking into national AI infrastructure initiatives. This isn't just a private venture. It could become a public-private partnership. Does the math add up? $3 trillion in investment for $4 trillion in revenue over 15 years? Assuming linear depreciation, annual revenue would need to hit $260 billion by year 10. For context, Google's total revenue last year was $210 billion. So OpenAI needs to become bigger than Google purely in AI services. And here's the biggest assumption, that demand for AI will continue growing exponentially. If AI adoption plateaus, or if breakthroughs in efficiency drastically cut compute requirements, this entire investment could become stranded assets. It's a bet that exponential growth continues for the next 2 decades. My personal take: this is a combination of visionary thinking and reckless ambition. History shows that the biggest infrastructure investments often came from people considered crazy at the time. Railways in the 19th century, highways in the 20th, internet infrastructure in the 90s. Most of them seemed impossible until they weren't. But there are also plenty of examples of massive infrastructure failures: Concorde, nuclear power expansion in the 70s, or the recent Hyperloop hype. The difference usually comes down to timing and execution. The question for OpenAI is the timing right, and can the execution be flawless enough to justify this scale? One thing is certain: if this plan succeeds, it will fundamentally reshape the global economy. If it fails, it will become the biggest write-off in corporate history. Either way, we are witnessing history in the making. The personal war, Altman versus Musk. And now comes the kind of drama Hollywood couldn't script. 2 men who were once friends are now sworn enemies. The story of Altman versus Musk isn't just an ego clash, it's a battle over humanity's future. Let's rewind to 2015. Sam Altman and Elon Musk sat together in a San Francisco room, sharing a vision of creating safe AI for humanity. They co-founded OpenAI as a nonprofit, with a noble mission statement: ensure artificial intelligence benefits all of humanity. Fast forward to 2018, Musk wanted to merge OpenAI with Tesla, effectively turning it into a division of the electric car company. His reasoning: Tesla needed AI to perfect self-driving technology, and combining resources would accelerate progress. But Altman and the board refused. They saw it as Musk trying to acquire OpenAI for Tesla's benefit rather than humanity's. That meeting, according to sources, was extremely heated. Musk apparently slammed the table and said, "You don't understand the scale of competition with Google in China. Tesla has the resources and manufacturing capability OpenAI needs." Altman shot back, "We can't risk our mission for short-term business goals." And so Musk walked away, taking with him planned funding commitments worth hundreds of millions of dollars. More importantly, he took institutional knowledge and relationships within the AI community. That was the turning point that forced OpenAI to seek funding from Microsoft, ultimately leading to the for-profit structure we see today. But the real animosity began after that. In 2023, Musk launched xAI with the explicit goal of building truth-seeking AI, a direct shot at OpenAI's perceived bias. He constantly mocked ChatGPT on Twitter, calling it woke and insufferable. Meanwhile, Altman rarely responded publicly, but his actions spoke louder than words. OpenAI backed Merge Labs, a brain-computer interface startup, in a funding round valuing it at $850 million. That's direct competition with Musk's Neuralink. When I asked one investor in the deal, he said, "This isn't coincidence. Sam wants to beat Elon at his own game." And the fight doesn't stop there. OpenAI is exploring a social platform that could compete with Musk's X. Imagine if ChatGPT had social media integration, allowing users to interact with AI directly through posts and comments. That would fundamentally change how people consume information online. In self-driving cars, the battle lines are also clear. Tesla's approach relies on computer vision and neural networks trained on real-world data. But Altman has hinted that OpenAI's approach could outperform Tesla by combining multiple sensory inputs with the reasoning capabilities of general AI. It's not just about recognizing objects. It's about understanding context and predicting behavior. Personal attacks have gotten vicious. Musk calls Altman Scam Altman and Swindly Sam on Twitter. Meanwhile, Altman, in a rare moment of candor, told reporters Musk operates from insecurity and that his attacks stem from fear of being left behind in the AI race. But here's what I find most interesting. They're both right in certain aspects. Musk is correct to warn about the risks of concentrated AI power. Having one company control advanced AI without oversight is genuinely dangerous. Altman is correct to argue that slowing down AI development to address every concern could hand the advantage to less scrupulous actors. The legal battlefield is also heating up. Musk has sued OpenAI multiple times, trying to block its for-profit conversion. His latest lawsuit argues that OpenAI violated its original charter by prioritizing commercial interests over humanity's benefit. Altman's legal team counterclaims that Musk is trying to sabotage a competitor after failing to acquire the company. What makes this personal is the shared history. These weren't strangers turned rivals. They were collaborators with a fundamental disagreement about direction. I think both genuinely believe they're fighting for the right cause. Musk sees centralized AI power as an existential threat. Altman sees fragmented AI development as a recipe for chaos. The impact on the industry is enormous. Other AI companies are picking sides. Anthropic generally aligns with OpenAI's approach to safety research. Google tries to stay neutral but is clearly concerned about OpenAI's rapid progress. Meta pursues the open-source path, which indirectly supports Musk's argument about democratizing AI. Venture capital is also polarized. Some investors see Musk's criticisms as valid concerns about governance. Others see it as sour grapes from someone who missed the biggest AI opportunity. This split is creating parallel funding ecosystems. Musk-aligned investors backing xAI and rivals, while OpenAI-friendly VCs double down on current leaders. But here's my controversial take. This rivalry is actually good for humanity. Competition breeds innovation. Without Musk's pressure, OpenAI might become complacent. Without OpenAI's success, Musk might not push XAI to be truly revolutionary. They're forcing each other to be better, faster, more transparent. The tragedy is that they started with the same goal, ensuring AI benefits humanity, but disagreed on the methods. Musk believes in distributed development with strong oversight. Altman believes in concentrated development with responsible leadership. Both approaches have merits and risks. Looking forward, I predict this rivalry will define the next decade of AI development. It's not just about technology anymore. It's about philosophy, governance, and ultimately, who gets to shape humanity's relationship with artificial intelligence. And honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. Better to have this fight in public with clear stakes than behind closed doors where we can't see what's happening. Brain-computer interfaces, science fiction turned reality. And here's the missing piece in the AI CEO puzzle: brain-computer interfaces. Altman says the goal is to talk to ChatGPT using thoughts alone. Sounds like science fiction? Wait, let's see how far the technology has already come. Musk's Neuralink has demonstrated controlling a computer cursor with thoughts through an implanted chip. But that approach requires surgery, carries high risks, and is only suitable for patients with severe medical conditions. OpenAI is betting on non-invasive alternatives, technology that can detect brain signals without opening the skull. Current non-invasive BCIs like EEG headsets can already detect basic thoughts and emotions. I tested a prototype device that could recognize when I thought about specific words or numbers. Accuracy was about 80% for simple commands. But to control an AI CEO, we need bandwidth thousands of times higher. Think about the complexity of running a company. A CEO has to process financial reports, make strategic decisions, handle stakeholder communications, manage crises, all simultaneously. The human brain generates about 20 watts of power. To transmit all that information to an AI system, we need breakthroughs in signal processing and machine learning. But here's what's fascinating. OpenAI doesn't need perfect brain reading. They just need enough signal to understand intent and context. Imagine this scenario. The CEO thinks about quarterly earnings. The BCI detects the general semantic area. The AI pulls relevant data and presents options. The CEO thinks approve or modify, and the AI executes accordingly. What's the realistic timeline for this tech? I estimate 10 to 15 years for basic communication, 20 to 30 years for complex control. The current rate of progress in neurotechnology suggests exponential improvement, especially with AI-assisted signal processing. The ethical concerns are enormous. If AI can read your thoughts, who controls that data? Could governments demand access? Could competitors hack it? The privacy implications make current data protection laws look primitive. We'll need a completely new legal framework. AI bubble or AI revolution? Altman admits we are in an AI bubble, but he also says this is the biggest thing in human history. Contradiction or complexity? Let's break it down. The numbers show AI startups are being valued higher than even the dot-com era. Anthropic valued at $18 billion in under 3 years. Perplexity worth $3 billion with less than $100 million in revenue. Compared to the dot-com bubble, these numbers are even crazier. But here's the key difference. The dot-com era only had the internet. The AI era has AI plus internet plus mobile plus cloud plus IoT. This compound effect creates a value proposition fundamentally different. When Amazon IPO'd in 1997, e-commerce was experimental. Today, AI is already generating billions across industries. Josiah from Alibaba, Ray Dalio from Bridgewater, and Apollo economist Torsten Slok have all voiced concerns. Slok argues today's AI bubble is bigger than the dot-com bubble, pointing out that today's top S&P 500 companies are more overvalued than in the 1990s. But I have a different perspective. The dot-com bubble still produced real value despite the crash. Amazon, Google, eBay. The survivors became trillion-dollar companies. The AI bubble will be similar. Many companies will die, but the winners will reshape civilization. My investment advice: yes, there's a bubble, but don't miss the forest for the trees. Some companies will crash and burn spectacularly, but AI leaders like OpenAI, Google, Microsoft will emerge stronger than ever. The key is distinguishing hype from substance. The biggest risk isn't the bubble bursting, it's regulation. The EU already has the AI Act with strict requirements. If the US follows with heavy-handed regulations, innovation could be killed completely. Meanwhile, China is going full speed ahead. This regulatory mismatch could hand authoritarian regimes a competitive advantage. Gen Z and the future of work. Here's the reality check. AI is wiping out entry-level jobs faster than anyone predicted. Anthropic's Dario Amodei warned AI could eliminate 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years, potentially pushing unemployment to 20%. But I don't fully agree with the doom and gloom narrative. History shows technology destroys jobs, but also creates new ones. The Industrial Revolution killed farm jobs, but created factory jobs. The Computer Revolution killed clerical jobs, but created programmer jobs. The AI revolution will be the same. Altman told Gen Z graduates this is the most exciting time in history to start a career. A 25-year-old in Mumbai today has more potential power than any previous generation. Access to AI tools means an individual can compete with entire companies. Real examples. I know students earning thousands monthly with AI-powered content creation, automated trading algorithms, personalized tutoring services. Opportunities are there, but they require a new skill set Gen Z needs to focus on. Creative problem solving, emotional intelligence, AI collaboration skills. Don't compete with AI. Collaborate with it. Learn prompt engineering. Understand AI's strengths and limitations. Build hybrid human-AI workflows. Critical skills for the future job market. AI literacy, cross-functional thinking, adaptability, ethical reasoning. Traditional career paths are disappearing, but new ones are emerging for those ready to embrace change. AI CEO, science fiction or inevitable? Now back to the original question, is an AI CEO in 3 years realistic? Let's break down the technical requirements. To be a CEO, AI needs strategic thinking, stakeholder management, crisis handling, innovation leadership. Current AI is strong at data analysis and pattern recognition, but weak at intuition, empathy, and complex social dynamics. 3 years. Highly unlikely, but 10 to 15 years. Very possible, especially with a hybrid model. AI handles data-driven decisions, humans handle relationships and vision. Think of it like advanced autopilot for business operations. The market implications would be enormous. How would shareholders react to an AI CEO announcement? Would they trust software to lead a trillion-dollar company? Board dynamics would fundamentally change if the CEO wasn't human. The legal framework also needs a complete overhaul. If an AI CEO makes a decision that costs billions, who is responsible? Programmers, board members, insurance companies. We'll need a whole new category of corporate governance. But here's the interesting angle. An AI CEO might actually be more trustworthy than a human CEO. No personal agenda, no emotional bias, no corruption potential. Decisions based purely on data and long-term health. Shareholders might prefer this predictability. The undiscussed risks. But there are risks Altman didn't mention at that dinner. Cybersecurity risk. An AI CEO could be hacked. Imagine a competitor infiltrating your CEO's decision-making and sabotaging strategy. Legal liability gap. Current corporate law has no framework for AI leadership. If an AI CEO violates regulations or makes discriminatory decisions, the legal system won't know how to handle it. This uncertainty could paralyze adoption. Human psychology factor. People need emotional connection with leaders. Can employees follow something they don't understand? Culture, inspiration, vision. These require human elements. AI struggles to provide. Concentration of power concern. If an AI CEO can process information millions of times faster than humans, the power gap will be enormous. This could create new digital monopolies more dangerous than anything before. Technical dependency risk. An AI CEO makes a company completely dependent on technology. A system outage, cyber attack, or even a software bug could paralyze the entire organization. Human CEOs have backup judgment. AI CEOs don't. Social acceptance challenge. Public backlash against AI leadership could be severe. Unions, employees, customers might reject companies led by AI. Social resistance could limit adoption regardless of technical capability. Preparation strategy for the future. So how do we prepare for this future? Strategy depends on your role in the ecosystem. For investors, don't put all eggs in the AI basket, diversify, but keep strong AI exposure. Focus on infrastructure builders rather than just apps. Think picks and shovels in a gold rush. For professionals, build AI-adjacent skills now. Learn to work with AI tools, focus on creativity, empathy, complex problem-solving, ethical reasoning. For entrepreneurs, find gaps. AI doesn't fill well. Human services, creative industries, elderly care. Areas requiring the human touch will remain valuable. Hybrid human-AI businesses will thrive. For students and Gen Z, master AI collaboration early. Learn prompt engineering, understand multiple AI platforms, build workflows combining human insight with AI capabilities. This hybrid skill set will be most valuable. For companies, start experimenting with AI integration now. Don't wait for perfection. Build internal AI competency, train staff, develop governance frameworks. Early adopters will gain enormous advantage. My personal philosophy, technology is a tool. The question isn't, will AI take over, but how can we ensure AI serves humanity? That requires active participation, not passive observation. Sam Altman's vision of an AI CEO isn't fantasy. It's a calculated prediction based on today's trajectory. Whether you're excited or scared, one thing is certain, change is coming. The question is, will you be a passive observer or an active participant in shaping this future?